Hello guys, welcome back to Mark Shrimp Tanks. In today's video we are going to do a 6-month overview of this tank that holds blue dreams and bristlenose plecos. Alright guys, but before we get started I thought I would like to thank Mark Shelley Aquatics for putting me onto this method of breeding Neocaridina, because I've always never used fish species in with neo breeding before, but until I saw Mark's videos I realised that yeah, maybe there is a better way to do it than what I was doing before, and there is. This way of mixing Bristlenose Pleco with Neocaridina is fantastic. Right, they have such a good symbiotic relationship where the plecos basically feed off everything that is in the tank that is wood and leaves and all this kind of stuff, and then they poop out a lot of stuff and then the neos feed on it. Right, and there's absolutely no predation in these tanks at all, right? We started this tank, guys, with maybe 100 blue dreams from my other tank over there 6 months ago, like we mentioned at the start of the video, and there is literally thousands and thousands of blue dreams in this tank now. They're not perfect blue dreams because I'm very lazy with my culling, but there is literally thousands and thousands and thousands of them, right? So I'll put up loads of macro footage for this as well so you guys can see it. I thought I would document this for you so you guys, if you wanted to try this, that you could actually see the outcome, right? I'll probably put up a picture as well of me setting up this tank 6 months ago, right? And you'll see the difference, how bare it was. Talking of bare, guys, as well, this was originally a bare bottom tank, but since then I've added some ceramic rings, little bits of rock and all that kind of good stuff in here, and yeah, the shrimp are really thriving. So let's get on to the nitty gritty on how this tank is actually managing to be run this way. And I think it's important, guys, to start with the filtration, because this won't work if you have substandard filtration, right? So in the beginning, when I said that this tank had one sponge filter, as you would have seen in the previous pictures, I upgraded it to 2 bigger sponge filters, right? So this is quite a large filter for this size of tank. Overfiltration is always better with shrimp tanks than not having enough, right? Because as soon as you start to get any kind of ammonia reading in a shrimp tank, it's kaput time for the shrimp, right? So you want as large and as much of filtration in your tank as possible. It's preferable as well, guys, if you use sponge filters, because yeah, there's less that can go wrong. If there's power cuts and stuff, there's nothing can go in and be killed when the power comes in, right? So that's why I specifically mark shrimp tanks. That's why I use a lot of sponge filters in my room. Let's talk about water changes, because I'll be very honest with you here, guys, I probably don't do enough, but do I see a big difference in the tank? No. I haven't done a water change in this tank for at least a month, maybe 6 weeks, something like that. And when I do a water change, it tends to be a bigger water change as well. I think I still have COVID. Oh my God. Right. Yeah, so don't get too worked up about water changes with Neocaridina. As long as you're not on an active soil substrate, then you can pretty much leave your tank as much as you want, right? Leave it as much as you want regarding water changes. The other thing, guys, I would say is you will notice that there's an awful lot of plant mass in here. And this wasn't always here, right? If you go back to the pictures at the start of the video, it was quite bare in comparison, right? And I've not added extra plants. This is how much it's grown, right? And this is mostly hornwort in here. Hornwort, God, I can never say that right. This is mostly hornwort in this tank. And it grows like the clappers, right? And there's little bits in the middle here as well. You can see like Java moss and whatever else. I've never been able to grow Java moss, but since I started doing it this way, my Java moss has grown fine. So, with water changes, as we said, yeah, you really don't need to overthink this stuff, I don't think, anymore. Water changes are important, but they are not the be-all and end-all of shrimp keeping. The other thing I did do, guys, with this tank is, one thing I was aware of, with if I do less water changes, there will be a lack of calcium in the tank, right? And if you have a ton of plants like this, they go through calcium like crazy, right? This is evident if you do a general hardness test. If you don't add any calcium, what will happen is that the general hardness will just decrease and decrease and decrease over time. right? And then your plants will start to go yellow and everything will start to struggle, right? So you can see mine's are all healthy green in here. And how I've managed to fix this issue without really having an issue to fix is over here I've added a piece of coral rock about this size into this tank, right? So you have to be aware, guys, that if you add anything that is like coral from the sea into a tank like this, right, it's going to put up your GH quite high, right? But because I have so many plants in here and bazillions of snails, rabbit snails and whatever else and all that kind of good stuff in here, I never have a problem with it that way. Right, so the other thing that's quite important, guys, to have a tank like this is feeding. Right, you need to feed this tank. For me specifically, with this amount of shrimp, I need to feed this tank a lot every single day. And one of my favourite foods right now is this one here. By the way, guys, I'm not going to leave affiliate links and all that kind of stuff in the comments because I don't know, that kind of puts me off videos when I see that. I'm not trying to sell you something. This is just what I'm using right now, right? So we've always talked about using crushed goldfish fish flakes in my tanks like this, and I still do. But for the rest of my tanks, and this one as well, I've started using these Tabimin tablets from Tetra, right? So they're not that expensive and you get quite a lot. And I probably add maybe between 5 and 10 of these tablets at a time into this tank, and it lasts a long time. As you can see, I've had this tub a couple of weeks and it's barely even gone down, right? So yeah, you have to keep up with your feeding. These are pretty decent tablets as well. I use them in my bee shrimp tanks also, but I don't feed them anywhere near as much, right? So I'm going to keep that part of this conversation for another video, because if you try and feed your bee shrimp the same way as you do your Neocaridina, you run into problems, right? Because there is a different setup and you have to be mindful of that when you're feeding your shrimp. God, I don't have blether, don't I? Guys, would you like to actually see the shrimp? Or would you like me to keep on blethering? The proof is in the pudding, as they say, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just do an overview of the tank before I feed, so you can see the amount of shrimp that's just everywhere in the tank. There's literally thousands of shrimp in this tank, right? And then we'll put some food in, and I'll come back maybe in half an hour or something, and you'll see, basically you'll see a pile like this in the centre of all the shrimp, right? So you've got that coming. You can see here, guys, the tank is just absolutely choked full of hornwort, and it's nice and green, so that's a good sign. This is what you want. You don't want it to go yellow, because yeah, when it starts to go yellow, it starts to pollute the tank and go bad. But as you can see here, guys, there's plenty of shrimp all over the place in this tank. And yeah, I'm having so much breeding success. As I said, guys, as well, I have to thank Mark Shelley Aquatics. I'll probably leave a link in the first comment for you guys to go and check out his channel, where I got the idea for adding Bristlenose Pleco like this. It's a big girl there. Into my tank, you see the male there. And it seems to have made such a huge difference to the amounts that I can feed my shrimp, because these guys are just eating machines, these big Bristlenose Plecos. And all their waste goes into the substrate or the layer in the bottom. Some of the stuff you can see here is just zeolite, some zeolite I had from another tank. I didn't want to throw it, so I just threw it in here. Bits of wood. A lot of wood is important when you have Bristlenose Pleco. A little bit of cuttlebone in the middle, because I have a ton of snails in here. Sulawesi snails, ram's horn snails, Malaysian trumpet snails, bladder snails, the lot. And yeah, when you have this amount of animals in a tank like this, you need decent filtration in your tank, right? So you would have seen before this sponge filter, and it was 1, well, now it's 2. I think I covered that in another video, and it's not too powerful, but yeah, it's enough to clean this tank. Lovely. Look at that beautiful Java musker on there. And yeah, the shrimp population has just exploded. Now keep in mind, guys, as well, I'm telling you that I'm doing very minimal water changes in here, and I'm seeing no real downside to doing it like this in this tank. Now, as you can see here, you can see all the little fish, all the pleco babies, all the shrimp babies. They're all over the place. I can see a lot of the little Bristlenose Pleco babies. It must be new ones because they're very small. But yeah, they just keep on breeding and keep on breeding and keep on breeding. And guys, as I said, they're literally on every plant in the tank. And there's just more and more of them all the time. So yeah, let's let's do enough of the talking here. Let's actually, guys, just move some of these plants out of the way so you get a wee bit more light in here. So we can actually see the shrimp. So many of them. So we can actually see the shrimp. That's a little bit better, isn't it? I just noticed there's a lot of this val there. It must have come from a clipping or something else. But yeah, you can see these guys a wee bit more. It's also important that you give Bristlenose Plecos caves like you see here. So I have a couple in here because there's, as far as I know, there's one big male. I think there's one small male and the rest are females, right? So you need to give these guys somewhere to go. Let's put some food in. As I said, I'm going to add in a decent amount. If I can pick some up like this. This is how much I will typically feed this size of tank. As I said, I think it's a 40-gallon tank every single day. Right, so you can see how much I'm putting in. Look at the shrimp here, just seems to be hanging there, you see it? And yeah, the shrimp are just exploding with life. So I'll come back here in probably, I don't know, 15-20 minutes and we'll see just how many shrimp is on this section here. By the way, guys, if you're wondering, this is a piece of apple tree wood that was seasoned for at least a good 2 years outside. It actually came from a tree that I'd cut down the branches and stuff on, and I'd kept it outside, and then after 2 years I thought it was seasoned enough, cut it up into little bits and I put it into my shrimp tanks. So apple wood's quite hard, it's good. We have cinnamon bark here, we have some bits of philandra, some sawassertang. I'm just trying to see what else is at the back here, some more driftwood. Driftwood is very important, that's why I have a lot of wood. Bristlenose Plecos typically will munch through tons of this stuff over time. And yeah, you also need to make sure, as I said, that you're giving all of these animals enough calcium. So that's why I've got this little bit cuttlebone in here. This floats in the beginning, guys, if you get fresh cuttlebone. Fresh, I'm saying dry cuttlebone. If you get fresh cuttlebone, remember and boil it first. By the way, guys, I have all of this information available on my website, how I'm doing on my shrimp tanks now, because yeah, there's just so much activity that I thought I'd share it with you all on a website as well, right? So that website is called aquariumshrimpkeeping.com. Look at them all over here, they're all coming to the front, because you have to remember, guys, as well, when you look at a tank like this, you're just seeing the ones that are in this section at the front when they're not feeding, right? So you'll have everything that's at the back all still to come to the front as well. And yeah, I'll stop blithering, guys. I'll be back in a little bit. Look at these shrimp and snow, look at them. Oh, let me see, can you see my beautiful face? A little bit dark, but there you have it, guys. 6 months in and we have bazillions of blue dreams and plecos in this tank, right? If you want to see more content like this, guys, then please tell me in the comment section below and I'll probably make more of an effort to post videos. Have an awesome weekend. Happy shrimp keeping.